What's up fam? Scott here with the 5-Day Startup. If you don't follow me, make sure to follow me at @FoundScott. Today I'm gonna do a quick video, actually it's gonna be a little bit of a longer video, on profit calculations and the cost of starting your business. So if you guys watched the last video, we did a very high level on the cost to start a business, but we left a lot of details out. We didn't show how to use some tools, and we didn't talk about profit calculations and things like that. So today we're gonna carry on with the same example of water bottles, but we're gonna go into a lot more detail. So without further ado, let's get started. We're gonna jump right in. This is gonna look a lot more complicated than the last presentation we did. There's a lot more calculations here. Some of them we're gonna go into details on, some of them we're not. All right guys, so the first thing we need to do is first determine what products we're looking at. So that'll be on later videos. The reason why we're doing this video first is we wanna understand what we're actually looking for. I was gonna do all my product research videos first, but I realized that without kind of understanding the calculations, you wouldn't really know what to look for. So I'm just gonna tell you what we're looking at right now. And again, it's gonna be a water bottle. It's a very competitive niche that I wouldn't recommend going into, but it's a good example and it's a product that I love and use. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. Let's get started. Here we have dimensions. So a lot of this is gonna be really easy to use with some tools that we're gonna recommend. One of them is Helium 10. So all we have to do is have the Helium 10 plugin, and then you go to Amazon. I've already picked this water bottle out. We did it in the last video. All we're gonna do here is we're gonna go to Profit Calculator. So you guys might be wondering why we're doing our video on profit calculations if there's already a profit calculator. We just put a lot more factors in there and the cost of business, things like that. So this is a really good tool to get started, and if you guys are just trying to get a high level, Helium 10 has it built in. There is a free version, there's a paid version. I use the paid version, I think it's amazing. So we're just gonna go ahead and steal the information they have here. So this is all in inches, and it tells you inches. And that's one of the things to make sure you guys are on the same page about, is whether you're in inches or not. So we're just gonna copy and paste these in. And then wait. And these numbers are very accurate, guys, because basically what Helium 10 does is it pulls it straight from the Amazon listing. So a lot of this you can actually find on the listing, but it's a little bit more hidden, or you just wouldn't know what to look for, or it's not publicly visible, but it is all public information. So anything that Helium 10 is scraping is public information. All right, so we've entered this in, and what it's gonna do is, if you see on the spreadsheet, which I'm gonna add some instructions on how to get access to this spreadsheet in the description, so just go ahead and click down there if you guys are interested. So anything in blue in the spreadsheet will be fields that you enter. So we've entered these, and then I also want to point out that there's another profit calculator by Amazon. So you can enter things by ASIN and it'll give you more details. Just for the fun of it, I actually haven't played with this in a while. There you go, and you could enter some stuff in here, so we'll do that as we go through. So we'll give you guys another tool to use. My goal here is not to overwhelm you guys with information, it's to give you the best tools possible, and there's a lot of good ones out there, but I find that making your own or modifying other tools will give you the best results, because especially the further you get into this, you learn lessons and you see mistakes, and these tools, all of them, have pretty big holes in them that can lead you to make big and expensive mistakes that we're trying to avoid. So these are some calculations that are based off of Amazon. You don't have to mess with these. You can play with them later if you want. You can see the calculations that are built in. But basically, this gives you the shipping size, so size tier, which is based off of Amazon's direct data. So size tier is really important to understand, because each size tier you're paying more. So if you are half an inch off or a quarter inch off, you can actually save a lot of money by dropping your size tier. So changing your packaging, redesigning your product a little bit. That half an inch can save you $2, $3, even $10 per shipment, which, guys, that's huge margin. If you can save $3 per shipment and you're doing high volume, that's awesome. All right, so the next thing we're doing is estimated monthly sales. So we're gonna get that from Helium 10 again. So let's go back to Amazon. So there's a couple ways to do that. You can click on X-ray, and then we covered before, this number is multiplying all the SKUs or variances, which is not exactly right. And they do have a warning on here that happens sometimes with certain data. You can see it right there. But anyways, we're gonna estimate that in total, all the SKUs sell almost 1,800 units a month. So we're gonna go ahead and put that into our calculator. Selling price, we'll use the same selling price. Average price is $20.10, is that correct? So you can see that as well. Some of the SKUs are probably different. So we can do the average, what was the average? $20.10, I believe. So we'll go back in here. 21. All right, so now lead time. Lead time, we're gonna have to go to Alibaba. And again, if you guys watched the other video, we kind of showed how to find this, but we're just gonna go to Alibaba and search water bottles, and we're gonna look for something very similar. And guys, I wanna cover that this is not a good model to find a product and sell. This is way too competitive. And unless you have millions of dollars, you're probably gonna fail. But we're using this as an example to kind of teach you the process and go forward so you guys can learn and understand when you're creating your own private label products. And that is the focus of this channel, is private label products. So now on lead time, we're gonna go ahead and dive into Alibaba. We just searched on Alibaba for this product, and if you guys are new to the channel, Alibaba is like the Amazon of manufacturers. So you can go there, search for a product, and find the best product for you, and then you can have them custom designed. So with a private label, the biggest thing is making your product differentiable and better quality than anything else out there. Just going to Alibaba, picking something, throwing a logo on it, and calling it a day, probably not gonna work in this current market. I wish it did. There'd be a lot of money to be made, but you really have to differentiate. So this is the water bottle. I already clicked on it. It's got a pretty cool listing. So we're talking about lead time, sample lead time. So around 7 days for them to manufacture, and I'm assuming that means they put a new logo on there, and that's probably it. It's their standard packaging. 7 days, and then shipment, we're gonna do a big shipment because there's a lot of demand. So you're gonna say 30 to 45 days for sea shipping because it's gonna be too big to do by air. That's gonna be your lead time. So let's just round it up to 2 months, and that's pretty safe. So we're gonna lower this to 2 months here. So from here you can see a range. They say anywhere from $2, $2.50 to $5. Guys, this is all negotiable. We're gonna be doing a huge order to meet these quantities, so I'm gonna go even lower, or I'm gonna go with their minimum. There's some tricks we'll show you on how to get better prices. There's some templates I'm gonna help you guys out with to negotiate. So let's just go, say we're getting the lowest price. I almost guarantee you if you're ordering this quantity, you can get it at a significantly lower price, or get a mold made and your own design for way cheaper than this price. But we're gonna go ahead and use the $2.50. All right, so shipment. If you guys haven't heard, there's a whole bunch of shipping options. Something this size, you're gonna have to use freight. You cannot airship. You could airship a small portion to get started, but freight is gonna be the way to go. So I use something called Freightos. This is an affiliate link here. It'll give you guys a discount. This is what it looks like when you log in. This is my account. So basically, it's really simple. There's an option, and I already clicked on it, but there's an option usually in the top right corner to click Amazon shipment. So this is designed specifically for Amazon sellers. It goes straight to the warehouse. It's super easy. So we went ahead and went into the listing on Alibaba and found out the dimensions of their boxes. So if you go to Alibaba, not all of them will have this. And again, you guys can have this custom designed for you based on your needs, but we found it right here. So the packing details, it's 24 water bottles per package. And here's the weight. So we're gonna go ahead and throw that in, and I just copied and pasted those in. So now we need to know how many boxes we're gonna do. So we have 24 units per box, and then what is our total units sold? So if we have a lead time of 2 months and estimated sales of 17,769, total units to be sent to FBA is 35,538. All these calculations are designed to help you as a tool. Please don't use them as factual or 100% accurate. They're never gonna be 100% accurate. The more you do this, the more accurate your numbers will get. But again, it's just a tool to help you make educated decisions. So we're gonna go ahead and put this in here. There we go. So we need a lot of boxes. And guys, this is gonna be a huge number. This is a very competitive product. This isn't something that I would go into, but I'm just using an example, and I'm trying to use all the accurate information. So, okay, so it doesn't even let you do that many. So at that point, you would need a full container, and then you could do it differently. So let's do a different calculation. Just for the calculations standpoint, I went ahead and doubled everything. So instead of 58, I multiplied everything by 2. So all these are by 2, and then I cut the number of boxes in half. So that was just so we can get the same information. There's different ways to enter things here, so you don't have to do it by boxes. So you can do it by pallet. So that's not a big deal at all. I just wanted a quick workaround for us. And then all we're gonna do is next step, who is labeling your boxes? So it costs almost nothing extra to have the freight forwarder label them. What I go ahead and do is I always say freight forwarder, but I have my supplier label them. And that way I prepaid in case the supplier makes a mistake or they get ripped off or anything like that. There's insurance on this, so now that we've selected this, it's ensured that's gonna be delivered correctly. It's just a double protection. I've always preferred to be a little bit more safe. Who is labeling your pallets? Again, sometimes they have to be repalleted because they'll come on the wrong pallets, and this company knows the right pallets to use. So I'm just gonna pick freight forwarder. That way, it might be an extra, on an order this size, it might be an extra couple $100, but for peace of mind, just to know it's done right and that someone else has responsibility for it and it's off of your chest, is great. So we're gonna go next. So facility in China, let's do port. It's gonna ship in a week, and then I need a zip code. So guys, if you do a facility, they'll come get it directly. You need the zip code of the facility, so I'm just gonna look up China zip codes. Obviously, this would be actually where your manufacturer is, and you can have the manufacturer ship the product to a port and then have someone pick it up, or you can have the freight forwarders go get it from the facility. I personally choose to have it picked up from the facility because then there's less people involved. Again, the insurance starts covering the second they touch it. So if I had them go all the way to the facility, it might cost me a little bit more, but I don't have to worry about something in between happening where the manufacturer might be in charge of it or something like that. So it's basically two bodies. You have your manufacturer, and then you have your freight forwarder company that will insure it the rest of the way. So if they pick it up from the manufacturer, you're covered the entire way. So you don't have to pay the manufacturer if they don't deliver. Then you have insurance if something happens on freight. And then we're going directly to an Amazon warehouse. There's a whole bunch in California. I don't remember which one I use the most. If you guys aren't familiar with the process, Amazon will tell you which one to drop off. What I do is I pick a UPS location as my shipping destination closest to the largest port in California, because that's the cheapest way to ship, the quickest shipping distance. And then that way, if for some reason, I use that as my return address, sorry. So if anything happens, it gets returned to UPS, and I have a UPS account, and then I can just figure it out from there. I'll call them and make it work. They'll charge me, I think it's $10 per box, so it's not super cheap, but at least it's ending up somewhere that you want it to be, and you can have a little control, and UPS will work with you. They're great. So unless you guys have something set up already, you're gonna need custom clearance. It's super important. You could use your own broker, but let me tell you, it's kind of a pain. Just go with this. Purchase a custom bond. Yes. So you're shipping a lot, you can purchase per year. I'm not gonna do that. So now they need the cost of the shipment. So let's go back to our calculator. So we said it was 30,000. So we need this times your cost of goods, which was, what do we say, 250? So again, very expensive, guys. It's gonna be a huge shipment. That's why it's not recommended to try to compete here. But we're gonna go ahead and put that in. So you can see that it would be almost beneficial. So we're just gonna go ahead and pick the annual shipment. If we're shipping that large, it's gonna be more expensive or cheaper. But you can see that, like, if you're doing let's make it 8,000. If you're doing an 8,000 shipment, it's only 50 bucks. I think that goes up. I'm not sure where that hits, $10,000. But anyways, so for this one, we're gonna go ahead and put that number back in. And I even told you, I don't know if you guys saw that, it popped up and recommended to use this one. So here's some more information. We're gonna do it a little differently. These are great tools. You can go ahead and use those as well. Additional details. This is hazardous to note. This is a personal shipment. All right, so if you're a known shipper, there's a whole bunch of benefits to it. I'm personally not a known shipper yet because I don't ship that often, but it can help with inspection, throughput, reduce cost anyways. And then always do insurance. Even if it's a $1,000 shipment, it's not much money to get insured, and then you're covered if anything happens. So I've never done a shipment without insurance, and it's just peace of mind. It's loading all our information, and again, I told you it's gonna be super silly expensive. This is a huge shipment, and you would do a full container load, and you would do this differently. But for examples, this is how I would do a smaller shipment, so this is kind of how we're gonna do it. And it's gonna load, and it's gonna give you options here. It's gonna be your fastest shipment, your cheapest shipment, best value. So it's pretty cool. You can search, you can look here and see that this one's 13 to 19 days, this is 30 to 41 days, and you just look there. And then you have options of air or freight. I've never used this company for air, but I'm sure it's fine. Just make sure you're comparing it to DHL and other international shipment companies. And then you can choose by shipper. So we're gonna go ahead, and I love this company. They've done really well for me, but it looks like it's gonna be slow on this one. Here we go, but that's way too expensive. So here's our best value. All right, guys, so shipping this one is gonna be 62,000. And guys, this is gonna be a weird example because the numbers are big, but I just want you guys to understand how it all works. So we're gonna go ahead and put this in. And I hope this kind of deters you guys from going into water bottles. Now duties. So we have, if you click here, there's a link. I filled out some of the information, so let's go through. China, you paid in dollars, so your currency is dollars. Importing to the US, again, currency is dollars. If you have the HS code, you can put it in here. It's probably gonna be more accurate, but this will also search for you, so it's just fine. Product value, we do 250, 2.5. quantity, huge quantity. So FOB is freight on board. Basically that means that you haven't paid for shipping and insurance yet. So down here it's gonna ask you what your shipping cost was, and this includes insurance, so you just put insurance as 0. Calculate. So it tells you your HS code, US, what the value of taxes and duties would be around 3,000. So here you go. This was just a free estimate on taxes. There's a couple ones. I said there was one built into Fredo's. You could use either one you want. This is just one that I can easily search. So we're gonna go ahead and put that in. Okay, now category. So category is actually a really interesting one. You can change the category of your product as long as it fits in there to save some money. A lot of people overlook categories and they'll pick a category that's actually more expensive than others. I have a drop down here, but what I like to actually do, I'll put a link to that, look them up. So this will actually should pre-populate this. So let's go ahead and what is the category that its standard shipping is? The main category would be sports and outdoors. So we're gonna go here, we're gonna pick sports and outdoors. Different categories have different fees. So it's important to look at what's up to date on Amazon. So our competitor is selling in sports and goods, which is 15%, but you guys can go through here and look and see if you could fit into a different category. Obviously a water bottle probably can't, and that's gonna be your 15%, but for some reason, if it was just an example, there's different rates and different fees. So industrial and scientific is actually a pretty broad one that I've used before where it's a little bit cheaper and you save a little bit on those. Yeah, here you go, industrial and scientific. So again, a water bottle couldn't be, but you could have a different product that has multiple uses, and if you can make it actually fit correctly into industrial and scientific, you're actually gonna save 3% up front right away. So example, apparel is pretty expensive, but if you can fit, like a lab coat could be considered apparel or industrial and scientific. And if it's industrial and scientific, it's actually only 12%, which saves you a decent amount of money. So it's really important to look at this and understand. So anyways, I don't think we can recategorize, so we're gonna stay in sports. Category fee is 15%. Now, our FBA shipping fee. Again, there's a lot of variations here and it does change, so I like to add links so you can actually just go look. So what we're looking for here is our size tier. So large, standard size. So here we go, standard size, large, and then we are 1.5 pounds. Large standard size, 1 pound to 2 pounds. So our fee is right here. And guys, this is where you can see that if you're a little bit smaller here, so if you can fit into the small size category, you save money. Or if you're at 11 ounces and you can get it down to 10 ounces, you save a little bit of money. So there's lots of ways to make sure you're understanding all of your cost. That way you're maximizing your profit. Our FBA fee goes here. So then that's almost everything we need to know about this product to get accurate calculations. This is gonna be total units to be sent to FBA. So this is your first order, and all this is your lead time times your monthly demand. So if we had to sell this many to compete with number one, and our lead time is 2 months, so that's what we think we're gonna sell, whatever it is. So there we go. And then this breaks it down, your unit freight cost, your unit duties. So then storage fees, guys, this is super important. This is actually a mistake that I made getting started is there is different storage fees for different parts of the year. So high season is October through December. And what that means is storage rates actually almost triple. There's a crazy calculation for this. So I actually use a regression calculator in here. And basically that means that each month that we're running out of inventory based off the lead time, it calculates a little bit differently. Other calculators don't do that. It's not gonna be a huge difference, but I just want the most accurate information possible. So here you go, but again, it's important to understand that the calculations do change, and basically it's gonna change based on season. So it makes sense that it's more expensive during the holidays because more gifts are purchased, things like that. So there's a lot of ways to make sure your inventory is set up at the right time to save some money there. It can actually get very, very expensive if you have bigger items. I had a big product that was like this big per unit, and I didn't realize this, and so it came in December, and ended up costing me all of my profits. I think I lost about $200 on the product, which isn't that bad, but it's one of those things where I just paid into storage fees for not being aware. That's why you wanna read the terms and conditions and understand every step. So then your referral fee, this is that 15%, so it's just calculating the 15% and your selling price. All right, so long-term storage fee and closing fees don't apply here. You guys can look into more details, but the long-term storage fee would be over 12 months now. They've changed the way it works. So our lead time is only 2 months, so we don't have to worry about that, and we're gonna be continuously updating every 2 months if our numbers hit correctly. So there's no long-term storage fees, but you guys can play with the lead time. Let's see what happens if I go at 14. There you go. There's your long-term storage fee. And then we have other costs. So in my last video, I said other costs at 30%. We're actually gonna do lower here because we're putting more details in and we have more information. So I'm only gonna put this at, let's do 50 cents a unit. If you notice, all our calculations below went from red to green. Okay, so now we're into the meat of everything. This is where the good stuff comes. This is where the other tools kind of fail you a little bit, is they haven't taken everything into account and then they don't show you what your actual profit's gonna be and things like that. So the first thing we have is net profit per unit. So how much money you're making per unit sold. And what that is gonna be based on these numbers. You're making $738 most of the year, and then in the holiday season, October to December, you're making $718. So that's actually not bad. If you're an advanced seller and you're moving, that's great. If you're just getting started, I would shoot for maybe a little bit higher, but these are good numbers. So these are doable products in the terms of numbers, which is why someone's doing it, but it's just such a big and expensive product that it would be hard to compete going in. Like, honestly, I wouldn't start this without $1 million. And that sounds silly, but the marketing, the reviews, the competition, it's just insane. So your margins is 36%. Everyone has their own rules on what margins they go into. I like to keep it at above 30%. So again, this kind of passes my standard. When you do get this formula, all the calculations are in there. It's pretty simple. You can just Google margins. Return on investment. This is an important calculation, and this is one that we're gonna talk a little bit more about. So your ROI is what you get back on your investment. So you're gonna do 169% of your initial investment, which is awesome. That's a great number. But the important thing to look at, and what a lot of people miss, is annualized ROI. So annualized ROI is how many times you basically turn that ROI per year. So the shorter your lead time is, the higher you can compound that ROI. So for instance, if we bought inventory for an entire year, for 1 year, that was it, and we sold it all out and everything, all the numbers worked, we'd only make 169% of our initial investment because we had to make a huge initial investment. But if we can turn this every 2 months, so that's 6 times per year, we've compounded our ROI and we're making money off of profit and we're not reinvesting. And so instead of making 169%, we're actually making 38,000%. So that's a huge return on investment and a great ROI. And guys, you can't get that in the market. You can't get that anywhere else. And the trick is lead time. And this is something that a lot of new sellers don't understand, is you negotiate the cheapest price at a higher quantity. Don't do that. Lead time, super important. Get your lead time down, spend a little bit more, and get that quicker turn. So that's why a lot of people are moving back to manufacturing in the US. If you can manufacture in a month and then your lead shipping is only 2 days to get to the warehouse, you're basically, your lead time's a month and whatever. But if in Asia the same lead time is a month, but then you have shipping of another month, month and a half, you are reducing your compound on that annualized ROI. So now we are covering expected value. So expected value is how much you can expect to make from this purchase if you bought inventory and sold out completely, didn't reinvest, didn't do anything like that, and everything went as expected here. So that's gonna be $262,000, which is a good investment. But then on the right side, we have how much we could potentially lose if everything goes wrong. And I calculated this probably in a little bit of a weird way, but you guys, if you get this spreadsheet, you can go ahead and figure that out too. Take a look at it, play around with it. I highly recommend trying to understand each variable in this spreadsheet and doing what's right to you. You don't want to take my word for it. This is just how I use everything. But I could potentially lose $185,000. So as a small seller, that's a huge number. I usually look at a lot of the products I do, my loss is very small, but again, the upside is a little bit smaller. So there's a little bit to play with. And then annualized loan-to-value, basically what that means is how much is your money worth at that point as an example of a loan. So if the bank was to give you a loan, how much risk are you at? And the lower that is, the better, and the negative is very bad. You guys can just Google the definition here and take a look if you want. I don't use this number too much, but I do use it when I'm comparing different products. So I just wanna know that I want a lower number. So now there's a little bit more on the total cost to start this business, which we kind of covered in the last video, but we're gonna go into deeper. Cost per click, Google, Amazon, I'm just saying for advertising, how much it's gonna cost to advertise this product. So I wanna know what my cost is, and there's a really cool tool. So I'm just gonna Google water bottle. So I use related keywords. It's a free Google Chrome app. And basically what it does is you can see, it tells you the cost to advertise. So 0.7 for that specific word. So we're just gonna use that to start. There's more ways to do some deeper dive into Amazon and find out the costs and things like that, but I'm not gonna worry about too much. This is just gonna be the high level on advertising costs. So we're gonna put this at 0.7. And then this is a very competitive product, so conversion rate, again, you're gonna have to have some experience to figure this one out. If you have previous products, you can ask industry experts, you can Google it. Amazon has a very high conversion rate versus a website. So anywhere from 5 to 30 is kind of standard. The more competition there is, the lower your conversion rate's gonna be. So this is a high competition product, so I'm gonna say it's only 10%. This is your cost per acquisition is $7. So as you can see, that's not ideal if your profit is only $7.38. That means you're now profiting only 38 cents when you're doing paid advertisement. But if you can only use that for the first month and then you can improve your conversion rate, you get better reviews, you're now the best converting, you move this up to 20%, 0.2, then you're doing well again. So we're gonna leave this at 0.2 for this example. A lot of my products do closer to even 40%, which is awesome and unheard of, but there's just different niche things that you can find and play around with where you're gonna have better conversion rates or lower conversion rates, and it's kind of hard to guess at the beginning. But again, total advertising cost for this would be $31,000. If you guys are familiar with Amazon, a lot of times you have to give away a certain amount of products to compete and rank on the first page. This is a calculation that kind of tells you what you'd have to give away relatively quickly within the first 2 weeks to help rank, and that's a large amount of units. It's 4,453. And then Helium 10 has a great calculator that helps you figure out keywords. So if you still want to compete in this brand, but you didn't want to go after the #1 keyword, which would be water bottle, you might go after a long tail keyword to rank #1, and then you can use less giveaways. And again, we'll cover that, and that's in product launch, that's way farther down. Cost of the giveaways. So this isn't actually an out-of-pocket cost. This is just almost a sunk cost because you've already bought the product, so you're not repaying for it. So you can almost ignore this cost. Photos, again, we talked about, for something like this, it's probably gonna be closer to 400 because we want really good photos. We want 3D renderings, maybe even 500. It's an expensive product, so we're gonna spend a lot of money on our photos. Miscellaneous would be a lot more on this one because again, it's a big product. Let's put $1,000. Helium 10, guys, I've talked about it a lot. It's a really useful tool. It's something that I use almost every day in my business. It has different tracking mechanisms. If you want, I'll have an affiliate link below. And here's 2 promo codes, 10% off for life, which is what I ended up using because I'm a long-term seller, so it saves me more, or 50% up front, depending on what you want. They don't let you combine them, so you guys can make that decision. So here's the total cost of entry. It's based off of a lot of information, and it's gonna be high. This is probably higher than what it actually costs you. But again, I'm more on the cautious side when I run my business, so I want the numbers to be higher. So I don't want to expect it to cost me $10,000 and it actually cost me 20. I prefer it the other way. I want to expect it to cost me 20 and it actually cost me 10. So this is the only number where I've purposely made it bigger than it probably accurately is, but that's because, again, we don't want to run out of money because then we just kind of fail. We go bankrupt, we stop. All right, guys, so that covers profit calculations. The important things for here are kind of your total cost to entry, and then these profit calculations and understanding the difference between the different seasons. Really just understanding the business as a whole. Like I said, there are other tools. This is a long video, so I'm not gonna go into it. You can easily fill this out. There's a link to it. It's just, this is a free tool by Amazon. And then the Helium 10 tool is really easy to use. So this is just the Chrome plugin. You can use their profit calculator. As you can see, it just doesn't have as much information here, and it's a little bit different than what we came up with based off of customs and things like that. And also, these haven't been populated yet with the estimated shipping cost, so you can play with that, but you can see a lot of this stuff. You can check to make sure we're lining up correctly, and it'll be right there. You can even see the oversized standard. So a lot of this information is right here to help you fill it out. I kind of gave you the long way because I want you to understand how to use it. I don't want you to just trust a tool, including my tool. I want you to understand every step and at least make sure you're pulling the information from Amazon at the time. That way you're getting the most accurate information. As always, guys, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm happy to help. We're gonna have a link to this spreadsheet down below. And guys, really appreciate it. Make sure to follow me at FoundScott. I answer all my DMs personally. And until next time, really appreciate your time. Love you guys, thank you.
Thanks so much for watching my video, guys. Really appreciate it. Please make sure to subscribe. Should be right down there or there. Watch my next video and my playlist right there for me and Moses. Thanks so much. Have a great day.